everyone, and welcome to Jack and Cat Adventures. Today we're going to be making chicken paprikash. Now this is a really easy recipe. There's really no measuring to it. It's how you want to make it, okay? I'll give you the basics and you can go from there. So you can either use boneless, skinless chicken breast. I find that to get a little bit too dry for my liking. Right now I'm using boneless, skinless thighs. And what you're going to do is you're going to put some flour, salt, pepper. Make sure you season the flour really well because this does not have a lot of seasoning in it. And mix it together in a bag. And then we're just going to put our chicken into the flour. Let's get our pan started. Heat up some either bacon grease or solid Crisco for this recipe. I'm using bacon grease because it just gives it a little more flavor. Okay, let's get that melting. What you're going to need is paprika, chopped onion, sour cream, water, salt and pepper. That's all that goes into this. Now, my recipe calls for 1 to 2.5 pounds of chicken. I have a lot more here because I'm going to feed a lot more people. That's why I say you can make enough for 2 people or you can make it for a crowd. This freezes really good too. So if you want, make extra and freeze it. That way you have an extra meal for during the week when you're busy. So I'm going to put in my chicken into my flour mixture. I'm going to just try and open this up a little bit. And all we're going to do with this chicken is brown it on all sides. We're not cooking it, we're just browning it because we're going to cook it fully once everything's browned. Just shake off the excess and we're going to stick that in that pan. Alright, so all you want these to be is just lightly browned, like that, on all sides. I am putting mine on a paper towel only because I have a lot to cook and I have to keep taking out and putting new batches in. Alright, so just add the bacon grease as needed as you're cooking. Don't get it too thick because you don't want a lot of grease in that. Just enough to brown this. Now that all my browning's done, I scrape the bottom of my pan to get all those good bits up, and I'm going to put all my meat right back into this pan. While you're watching me do this, please subscribe down below to make our YouTube channel grow and to get notified of all new recipes. Okay, so now I got my chicken in. Now, this is where it's a little bit tricky. So, for the 1 to 2.5 pounds of chicken, now you know I said I had a lot more than that in here. You would use 1 large onion and 2 to 3 cups of water. So I'm going to add water. Now, when you add your water, make sure it covers your chicken. And your water is going to be your gravy. So if you're going to make like dumplings or spatzels, you're going to want a lot of gravy. So you're going to add more water. So this is 8 cups for me so far. I think I'll do another 4 because mine isn't even covering my chicken yet. And that's why I say, you know, this is all based on what you're cooking. That's why it's so easy. It's kind of like making a soup, actually. And I'm going to do, I'll do 16 cups of water in mine. Like I said, I'm feeding a lot of people. So let me pour this in. Okay. Jackie, can you come show them about how much I'd like it over? So I have it totally covering my chicken. As this cooks, if you start to see your water getting too low, add more water, okay? So we're going to get some salt and pepper. Now, usually after you make this and you put it over your spatzels or dumplings, you will need to add more salt. I don't like to over salt stuff. If people want more salt, they can add it, okay? So I'm going to put my onion, you don't brown it, you don't do anything, you throw it in. This is like a meal you can walk away and let it cook. Now, I use a lot of paprika in mine because that's the only flavor you're really getting. So I'm going to add this whole thing to mine. Now, I'm going to stir all this together and see what it looks like. And you can't overdo the paprika really. As long as it's cooked in, don't add it after it starts cooking because it'll get like gritty. So mine's not quite dark enough. I like mine to be pretty dark, so I'm going to add a little bit more. And like I said, this is the only really flavoring you're going to have in this other than the salt and pepper. So you really want to make sure this is flavorful. And that's why I like to use the, I'm going to add a little bit more. I like to add the bacon grease because it adds a little bit of underlying flavor for this. Okay, so Jackie, come back over here, please. Okay, so I like mine to look pretty dark like this. In fact, I probably would add a little bit more. Just because I really want flavor in mine. So now what we're going to do is we are going to cook this with a lid half askew to let some of the steam out, not a lot of steam out because we want to keep that water in here. And we're going to cook it for 1 hour on a low flame. I usually let mine go between 2 and 3 hours on low flame just because it just tastes delicious when you cook it longer. But just make sure you don't burn it. Alright, so now we're going to move on to making our dumplings for the chicken paprikash. Just want to let you know, these dumplings are very solid and dense and heavy. So keep that in mind. If you like spatzels, which are real light and airy, you can do those. I'm just going to make these because this is what we like with the chicken. So in a bowl, you're going to need 2 teaspoons of salt, 3 eggs beaten, 2½ cups of flour, all-purpose flour, now you can double, triple, whatever you want with this. It works great, and I freeze these with the chicken when I freeze it. They come out fine. Okay, and then a ½ cup of water. Now, we might need to add more water after we mix. We're going to mix this. You want it to be a stiff dough, but you don't want it so stiff that it won't come off the spoon into the water. So we'll stir this and we'll see how it looks. Alright, so I ended up adding some more water. A little less than ¼ cup is probably what I put in here. Now, this is what you're looking for. It's not going to be runny, but it's like a dough. And that's exactly what you're looking for. You don't want it too wet or the dumplings won't stay together. And you don't want it so dry that they're like rocks. So you got to kind of find a perfect happy medium with them. And don't worry, I mean, they'll come out fine. If it's your first time, just try it, and then you can adjust it again next time, okay? So I got my water boiling, it's starting to boil, and I salted it, so I'm just going to bring that up to a boil, and then we'll start on the dumplings. Our water is boiling, so just drop the dough in by teaspoonfuls, and do not stir them for like a minute, because you don't want them to fall apart, okay? And you're going to cook them for 10 minutes, stirring occasionally. Alright, once they're done, what I do is I just take a slotted spoon and I take them out and I put them into a colander strainer and then run cold water over them. The reason I don't pour the whole thing out is because each time we're going to have to get the water boiling again. So in time you probably have to add a little bit of water, but for the most part you should be good. So now this has been cooking for about a minute, and now I'm just kind of scraping the bottom of my pan, and I'm just going to let them cook now and stir them occasionally for 10 minutes. Alright, so these are ready to come out. All I'm going to do is use my slotted spoon, put them in here. They look marvelous. And then I'm just going to run cold water over them to stop the cooking process. The reason I have this in a bowl is it just makes it easier so the water doesn't go all over and I don't get burned. Alright, now we've taken out our cooked chicken. You don't have to do that. I just like to shred mine. If you don't want to shred it, just leave it in. Then you're going to do 3 tablespoons of flour and 3/4 cups of water, okay? Mix that really good and use cold water when you're mixing with flour. Make sure you get all the dry bumps out of it. Okay? And then you're going to pour it into your gravy. And we're going to cook this for at least 5 minutes to make sure that that flour is cooked. Keep whisking it as it's cooking. Alright, so once your flour has thickened, you're going to add 3/4 of a pint of sour cream. And now make sure you whisk this in really good so you don't have big pieces. I usually add a whole thing of it when I only make one recipe. I like mine really creamy though. So use your judgment on what you like. And I'm just going to stir this in, and once the sour cream is stirred in, we're just going to add our meat back in and we're done. Alright, so here's our finished product. Please like, share, comment, and subscribe. And remember, you do you.